Hello coders, I hope you are coding well. In the previous video, we wrote the code to show bookings to the admin with pagination in our Angular application. And in today's video, we will create an API call to update the booking status in our Spring Boot application. So let's get started. So in our Spring Boot application, we need to go to the services package, and inside the admin package, we need to open reservation service implementation. And in this class, we will start writing a new method, and this method will return a boolean, and we will name this method as change reservation status. And in the params of this method, we need to accept the reservation ID and the status. So we will write long and we will name this as ID, and after this we will write string and we will name this as status. And in the body of this method, first of all we need to get the reservation by the ID. So we will create one optional variable of reservation and we will import it from hotel server dot entity, and after this we will name this as optional reservation. And after this we will use a reservation repository and we will call a method find by ID, and in the params of this method we will pass the ID. And after this we need to check the availability of our optional reservation. So we will write if condition, and in this we will use optional reservation and we will call a method is present. And if our reservation is not present, then we will write return statement and we will return false from here. And in case of true, we will create a new reservation variable and we will name this as existing reservation. And after this we will use optional reservation and we will call a method get. And after this we need to check the status which we got in the params of this method. So we will write if condition, and in this we will use objects and we will import it from java.util, and after this we will call a method equals, and in the first param of this method we will pass the status, and in the second parameter we will pass the string as approve. And after this, in this block we will update the existing reservation status and we will set the value as approved. So we will write existing reservation and we will call a method set reservation status, and in the params of this method we will use reservation status enum and we will set the value as approved. And after this we will write else case as well, and in this case we will set the reservation status as rejected. So we will write existing reservation and we will call a method set reservation status, and in this we will use reservation status enum and we will set the value as rejected. And after this we need to save this updated reservation. So we will use a reservation repository and we will call a method save, and in the params of this method we will pass existing reservation. And after updating the status, we need to update the room and we need to set the availability to false. So we will create a variable of room and we will name this as existing room, and after this we will import this room class, and after this we will use existing reservation and we will call a method get room, and in the next line we will use our existing room and we will call a method set available, and in this we will pass the value as false. And after this we need to save this room as well, and to do this we need to create the object of room repository. So we will write private final, and after this we will write room repository and we will import it from hotel server dot repository, and at the end we will name this as room repository. Now let's go back to our method, and here we will use room repository and we will call a method save, and in the params of this method we will pass existing room, and at the end we will write a return statement and we will return true from here. And with this our change reservation status method is completed in reservation service implementation. Now let's copy this and let's open a reservation service and let's paste it here. And after this we need to create an endpoint to call this method. So we will open a reservation controller inside admin package, and in this controller we will start writing a new method, and this method will return a response entity and we will name this method as change reservation status, and in the params of this method we need to accept the room ID and the status. So we will use @path variable annotation, and the data type of this will be long and we will name this as ID. And after this we will again use @path variable annotation and the data type of this will be string and we will name this as status. and in the body of this method we will create a boolean variable and we will name this as success, and after this we will use reservation service and we will call a method change reservation status, and in the params of this method we will pass id and status, and after this we need to check our success variable, so we will write if condition and in this we will mention success, and in the case of true we will write return statement and we will use response entity, and after this we will call ok method, and at the end we will call build method to build it, and after this we will write else case, and in this case we will write a return statement and we will use response entity, and after this to set the status we will call status method and we will return http status dot internal server error, and after this we will call body method and in this we will send the message as something went wrong, and at the end we will annotate this method with @getMapping annotation, and for the url we will set /reservation/id/status, and with this our change reservation status API is completed. Now let's run our application. And as you can see our application is up on port 8080 without any errors. Now let's go to the Postman and let's test our change reservation status API. And in the Postman from the request tabs we need to select get, and after this we need to give the basic URL which should be http localhost 8080, and after this we need to give the controller URL which is /API/admin, and after this we need to give the controller URL which is /reservation, and after this we need to give the ID and let's give it as 1, and after the ID we need to pass the status and let's give it as approve, and after this we need to log in as admin, so let's go to the login API, and in the login API we will give the details of admin user and we will click on this send button, and in the response as you can see we got our JWT token. Now let's copy this and let's go back to the API call, and here let's open the authorization tab, and from the type we need to select bearer token, and after this in this input let's paste the JWT token, and after this let's go to our MySQL workbench, and in the MySQL workbench let's open our reservation table, and as you can see we got one reservation with the ID 1, and after this we got the reservation status as 0 which indicates pending. Now let's go back to the Postman, and in the Postman we will click on this send button, and as you can see we got the API response as 200. Okay, now let's go back to our MySQL workbench, and in the MySQL workbench let's refresh the data of reservation table, and as you can see the reservation status got updated from 0 to 1 which indicates approved. And that's it for today's video. In the next video we will call this change reservation status API from our Angular application.